Welcome back to First Lesson Best. And as you might be able to tell, this is a little bit of a different episode. It's not a round table, it's not an interview, it's not a one-on-one with someone else or one of my friends. We're not talking about any one specific band. Um, this episode is special, and there's a reason for that. The day this comes out will be June 1st. For those of you who don't know me personally, June 1st is the day that my wife and I got married. And I'm using first, last, and best as a bit of an anniversary present. My wife and I normally don't do anniversary presents. It's just, some things are a little bit harder than others. And sometimes just, anniversaries, we'll do Valentine's Day, birthdays, Father's Day, Mother's Day. Anniversary is just kind of a more of a day where just say, recognize how much we do, in fact, love each other. So, with that in mind, this is less of a gift and more of a love letter to my wife. And I'm using First, Last, and Best as a vehicle to do that. Specifically, this episode is going to be about the music that has made mine and my wife's relationship. As of this day, we'll have been married for 13 years. We will have been together for a total of 18 on June 5th. That's the day we started dating. And I feel like that's kind of a good spot to start. Um, the first kind of music that I want to talk about um, is actually Newfound Glory. When the pod mother, Caitlin, and I first started dating, I was driving a 2006 Ford Fusion. It was manual transmission. It was the first car I owned, like truly owned, had my name on everything. Um, and a lot of what we did was go down to the beach near, it's a local beach where we live, and we would sit in the parking lot and listen to music. And one of the most consistent albums that we listened to was Newfound Glory's hits. There was obviously a lot of music we listened to. As you know, she's a very big Good Charlotte fan that was easily in our rotation. But there was something about sitting at the beach and either in my car or actually out in the sand and just having conversations and really kind of getting to know one another on a very deep level to a point where it's those conversations that made me realize how much I really do love her and how much I fell in love with her because of those moments. Like I did not, well, I didn't clean my car much anyway. She'll be able to tell you that. Um, but she would put her feet up on the dashboard while we were sitting there, and she'd press her toes against the windshield. And for car people, I'm sure that would probably bother you, but for me, it didn't. It was a nice kind of reminder that she was there. There's just something about that really makes me very happy, and I reflect on that and really am very thankful that she stuck with me because there were a lot of times, full disclosure, I just kind of sucked in those days. Um, I was not the best of people. Um, I had my issues, but she stuck with me through it all, and I'm still amazed by her, even after all these years, 13 years, 18 years. The fact that she stuck with me, and still every single time I listen to Newfound Glory, I think of her. So that's band number one. Band number two, or particularly a song, I guess, is God of Wine by Third Eye Blind. And I told this story, an abridged version of the story, I posted on social media. And I'll go ahead and tell the full story because it is a fun story. Caitlin and I had been dating for maybe close to a year at this point. She had met my family. I met hers. Her family, I work for my father-in-law, so I'm very, very close with that side of the family. Um, my brother at the time was military. He recently retired from the United States Air Force. And his favorite band of all time was Third Eye Blind. That and the Counting Crows. So my brother was in town for a couple days. I forget why. I think he was just on leave at the time. And he wanted to hang out. And he wanted to get to know Caitlin a little better. So me and her and my brother met at Buffalo Wild Wings. And if you heard that, that was my dog dropping things. So don't worry about it. Um, we met at Buffalo Wild Wings and we hung out. And my brother likes to push button a little bit. Um, he was trying to get her to see if he could convince her to take salt and pepper shakers. And whenever we went to this particular Buffalo Wild Wings, we, not necessarily Caitlin, but me and my brother would try and take things. We took a bar mat one time. They're just like small little stupid things that in your early 20s you think is funny. Um, but my brother was trying to include her in the, I guess for lack of a better way of putting it, theft. Um, in the end, he had convinced her to put salt and pepper shakers and a beer glass into her purse. Oh my God. She hung in there. I was really surprised that she hung in there and dealt with my brother with such grace. And my brother, God bless him, he's such a good guy. Um, he was texting a friend, and someone had mentioned that Third Eye Blind was coming in concert, or I don't know. It was literally a last minute thing. And Caitlin, when she goes to a concert, she wears her jeans, and especially in those days, jeans, Chuck Taylor's band t-shirt. I mean, your general pop punk emo kid. Uh, this is what I'm wearing to a show. She's not gonna wear a skirt, which is what she was wearing at the time. She's wearing a jean skirt. I remember that. She was wearing flip-flops. Once again, huge no-no when it comes to concerts. And still, she hung in there. And we went to the show. And the entire time, my brother's just super excited because it's one of his favorite bands of all time. And I remember listening to God of Wine, and I'm standing like, as most boyfriends do, right behind her, just making sure everything's okay. She's okay. She's having fun. She's not being going too crazy around the insanity that is my family and extended family and friends. And it was in that moment, one of those moments, especially during God of Wine, that I realized that the fact that she's handling my brother and is willing to drive him and just be like, all right, well, I guess we're having an adventure. Uh, it's it was one of the many things in those days that really kind of like, oh my God, how I won the lottery. I really did. And good night. That was amazing. Um, let's see here. You know who we should talk about? Let's talk about Frank Turner. Um, Caitlin's 21st birthday. Uh, we went a little crazy. Um, it was a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. On Friday, we went out to dinner with a bunch of friends. I actually drove up to Richmond to pick up an old friend of hers, Angle, for those who like to watch the show. And he came out with us. We threw her a party and had a lot of fun. Excuse me as I pick up my dog. Come here. Just my dog likes to get up and down from the couch. I don't know why. And since she has three legs, it's hard for her to really get up and down. So, where was I? Right, 21st birthday. Friday night, we had a party. It was fun, had a good time. Saturday, we went to an ODU football game, did some tailgating. That was fun. But the highlight was that Sunday, Frank Turner, and this was before he opened the Olympics. This was before he became really big. Um, this is when it was still very much like he's playing bars. And we saw him at the Camel in Richmond. And this was when he was still like at his merch table selling merch. This is when he was really just like you could get like that close to him. Like if I'm holding for those who are listening, I'm holding my hands very close together. It's like you were against the stage and he was right there. So one of the things Caitlin wanted to do was take a shot with Frank Turner. We were trying to figure out how to do this because we figured, hey, he's the headliner. He's probably not going to be out too much. Nope. We were so wrong. He was out and mingling and talking, and he was at the merch table. So we went up to the bar. We bought four shots of Jameson, and we went to the merch table. And we said, Frank, it's my girl's birthday. She just turned 21. We would love it if we could do a shot with you. And he was for it. He was like, absolutely, hand it over. We did a shot, met Frank Turner. It was so cool, this, that, and the other. And as we're walking away, he puts his hand on my shoulder and he's like, hey, what's your girl's name one more time? And I said, her name's Caitlin. He's like, all right, cool. He writes it down. Now, back in those days, Frank Turner, I don't remember the song off the top of my head. I wish I wrote this down. Um, he would bring someone up on stage to play harmonica on one of the songs. And normally it was like a random someone. He'd just pick somebody out of the crowd or, but on this particular night, he said, there's a woman who's just turned 21. Her name's Caitlin. Caitlin, will you join me on stage? And Caitlin was so nervous. And she got on stage. She played the harmonica. It was, oh my God. He did, I think, like two or three encores. And we ended up leaving like halfway during like the second or third encore. He was playing Thunder Road. I remember that specifically because Caitlin was so mad at me because it was like 2 o'clock in the morning and I had to work at 6 and I saw the drive angle back to his house in Richmond and drive back to our town, which was about an hour and 20 minutes away. And she was so mad at me for making her leave during the set. I'm just like, he's been playing for the last 3 hours. We gotta go. So but Frank Turner is just one of those musicians that's always been very important to us. Uh, whenever he comes around, we try to see him live. He's a fantastic performer and he's a wonderful musician and a wonderful human being. Um, so I do kind of want to keep this episode a little brief, not like super, super long, but still. Let's get to the two most important songs that I can possibly talk about. And obviously, one of those is I'll Try by Sam's the Hero. So I did not know Jeff very well back in these days. It's only in the last few years that me and him really kind of forged a very good friendship. But back in those days, we had seen him play several times. My wife was like Sons of Noah fan of Sam's the Hero, the original band name and the original band where Sam's the Hero came from. Um, so when I started playing local shows, uh, one of the bands that she wanted to go see, we would go to a lot of local shows in those days, was Sam's the Hero. We went and saw some friends play. Their band was playing with Sam's. And the first time I heard I'll Try, I once again boyfriend concert mode, right behind her, arms around her. Um, and I was just listening to the lyrics and I was like, oh my God, this song is so awesome. And I really, really enjoyed it. And Caitlin loved it. And like I just kind of felt her press into me a little more and it was just like very like just a very lovey-dovey kind of moment between two people. And we each for our 1 year anniversary, because at the time neither of us had much money, we both made like a mix CD for one another, and each of us picked that song to put on the mix. And I love it. That's such a great song. And if I really wish that I was better friends with Jeff in those days, because that was a song that we had talked about having our first dance to. Like we had briefly discussed it. Um, but the song itself, for those of you who listen, Sam's, um, it's more of a faster song. So it didn't quite vibe with the first dance at a wedding reception kind of I mean, we could have done it. It was our wedding. We could have done what we wanted, but at the same time, we both realized that maybe that wasn't the correct vibe we were going for. So I had flirted with the idea of messaging them and asking if they could come and play acoustically at the wedding. I ended up not doing that. Um, which I kind of regret. And I've talked to Jeff about that since, and he has told me that if I had messaged them and asked, they would have done it. So opportunity missed, I guess. What can you do? So let us get to probably one of the most important songs of our relationship. Um, so when we were going through music, and this was one of the more important parts of when we were setting up our wedding, we ended up getting a brass quartet, I believe, to play music going up and down the aisle. Um, we had a friend of my mother-in-law's sing Ave Maria, which people in my family, it's been done at a lot of weddings. Except I guess we picked the wrong Ave Maria because when he started singing, I was looking at Caitlin because we were at the altar and we were looking at one another. And he started singing, and I'm just like, a weird look came across my face, and she's just like, I don't think this is the right version. And I'm like, I don't either, but we're just gonna let it go. So, um, but we had our first dance narrowed down to two songs. And at that time, we had flirted with the idea and were determined at one point that it was going to be I'll Love You Till the End by the Pope. And I wanted it, but it was at a time where PS I Love You came out and it seemed like one of those things where everybody was using it for everything. So that was kind of one thing we were kind of that was kind of not selling us on it. I don't regret not choosing it. It would have been a great song. But we ended up with one of my mom's favorite artists, one of my favorite artists, someone who Caitlin's family likes really well, and that is Just the Way You Are by Billy Joel. Being a New Yorker, it's just, it's a great song. It really, really is. And since then, I've gotten the first four measures tattooed on my arm with my wife's name and my son's name. Um, every single time I hear that song, I think of her. Every we have I for 1 year for our anniversary, I bought this poster, and it's the the treble and bass clef, the actual music for Just the Way You Are, written out and then some of the lyrics. And we have that hanging in our living room. And every single time we're at a wedding, I ask them to play it. Um, and it really is one of those songs that fully encompasses, maybe not fully, but encompasses how I feel about my wife. Because I don't want clever conversation. I I don't want her to change. And obviously we all change over time. But the core of what makes mine and my wife's relationship work is that, or let me backtrack and rephrase that. Some of the biggest reasons why I fell in love with my wife, why I continue to fall in love with my wife every day, why the love I have for her continues to grow is her kindness, her empathy, her ability to listen and always be there when I need her. And the fact that he is literally the greatest person I've ever met in my entire life. I can't escape that, and I don't want to escape that. Which lyrics from the Pogues, by the way. I cannot escape. I'll love you till the end. God, that's such a great song. It's been 13 years since I said I do. I would say I do again. I would say I do right now. Every single day I do. Because I love her. And music has always been a driving force with us. It's it's not always playing in our house, but it usually is. Um, there's usually some type of music being played in our home, whether it's from the record player or a speaker or whatever. Music has always been a driving force for us. And it's a way for us to talk without talking. And it's wonderful. And the bands I've talked about, the songs I've talked about, and the memories I've talked about. And trust me, there are 1,000 more that I could probably talk about. It's just, mm, I love it. I love her. And God, I can't truly say and put into words just how fortunate and lucky I am to have her in my life, to be her husband, and to continue to be this lucky and fortunate. So, so to Caitlin, love of my life, thank you for 13 wonderful years. And thank you for every single day. Without you, I would not be who I am. I would not be the person I am. And I hope I can continue to be the man that truly deserves to be loved by you. For everybody else, um, that will be the end of this episode. Thank you for listening. Um, this was a very personal episode for me, as I'm sure you can tell from my rambling. Um, next week and for the rest of the month of June, we are going to be doing movie soundtracks. Uh, I'm not quite sure of the order that we're going to be going in. I suppose we'll see. I'll be announcing that later this week. And then we'll take about 2 weeks off before we jump and fully get onto the road to Supernova. There's a lot of great stuff planned for the summer. I'm super excited. We're going to be going from July all the way up to Supernova, which will this will last through most of September before we actually get into. Honestly, I have nothing planned after that, and I probably will at some point. I might take a couple weeks off after Supernova just because it's going to be such a it's going to be a lot. So, anyways, we'll see you next week with a brand new episode. And to my wife, Caitlin, I love you. Happy anniversary.